Good evening, afternoon, morning, wherever you are, good day. I have a very special guest with me today, and we are here to talk about swug of fatigue and how you can manage saving yourself from holotable burnout. With me today, I have someone from across the pond. That's no moon.
Hello, Carl. I'm glad I caught up with you because I dented my speeder bike down on Endor, so I was hoping we could have a quick chat while the droids fix it up for me.
Oh,
That okay?
absolutely. Those droids will get you fixed up and get you back on the road.
Thanks, man. Just keep the Jawas away from it, please.
Oh, unless you have a Suka with them, I don't, or to bribe them. I don't think they're gonna mess with you.
Okay, well we'll have to make this quick then, and just hope they stay away or see something shiny.
So today we're gonna talk about how you as a player, as us as a player, are gonna try to beat the swug of fatigue that is currently probably overwhelmingly just out there for everybody. I know I've felt it. A lot. My buddy Dagger has felt it. And today we've got 10 tips that maybe will help you help with the holotable burnout.
Yeah, and more so just protecting yourself from that fatigue, keeping you playing because, and rather than it sort of leaking out into your personal life as well, because that's too easily done, and we're all susceptible to it. No one is immune to this game taking over our lives, and having a very detrimental effect as well. So it is quite a real thing as well. So this is going to be a real man's talk because these things do happen. It is pretty serious. There is going to be, we know that there's borderline addiction issues with this game and the way it works as well. So it is quite a serious topic. We will try and keep it fun and light, but there is quite a serious undertone to this as well, I believe.
Oh, absolutely. This is because let's be honest. If we don't have, the community has kept us together, as a swug a whole, and let's be honest. If it wasn't for the community, I probably would have quit a while ago.
Yeah, I completely second that. If this, I mean, if it wasn't for guilds, if it wasn't for people on YouTube channels, or just other people in other servers keeping it fresh, and again, this is one of the best communities out there in gaming. In all honesty, I know it can be a little bit toxic at times. I know we can be a bit moany and bitchy at times, but genuinely, this is one of the best communities out there, because we're all going through the same thing. Uh, and at the end of the day, and we all suffer from the same issues as well. So I thought it was a really good topic to cover
Oh,
because
absolutely.
we're all prone to it.
So, I'm gonna take it off, lead us off here, and I'm gonna touch on go out and play with friends. Find friends. We've if you've been in this community anytime, I'm sure you guys have formed some kind of friendships with someone. I myself, I've got my streaming partner Dagger. I've got on the Escape Podcast, my buddy Paul. I'm friends with Ranger and Finn from RSG, or I'd like to think so. So go out, see if their guild has any openings, if they're willing to, playing with friends, being able to, basically stand in the army with them, basically. Um, it will help. It will definitely help.
Yeah, I agree completely wholeheartedly with that as well. Because when you think about it as well, even if you need to take a step back, so let's say, for example, you're in a very competitive world, you're probably more prone to burnout as well. And I think by taking a little bit, even if it is a step back, even going to maybe a 30, 40, 50 million GP left guild, But if you're having fun, that is so much more rewarding than it is just grinding it out every day. And it's almost like a second job that doesn't even pay. It is a huge time investment. And let's be honest, so you may as well make it fun with friends in game as well. And that kind of leads me on to my first one as well. It's a nice little segue into my first one. I've got down, speak to an officer in your guild privately, speak to someone else in your guild at the moment, and if not, most, I mean, believe it or not, most guild leaders and most guild officers are there to support you when you need it as well. In all honesty, they want to keep you in the guild, and that you will probably be a valued member of that guild as well. I know not all guilds are the same, but usually, if you've been there for like a year or 2 years, speak to an officer, because these guys are okay. They direct us and they give us a bollocking when we don't do our 600 or whatever, but they're probably the best guys to speak to. Maybe even a little bit of an older head in the guild, someone who's a little bit more mature, and just to, because again, you might even learn a few life lessons, but just even getting it off your chest is going to be hugely helpful. Or speaking to someone else in the same situation, and again, if you can't find that in that current guild, well, you're likely in the wrong guild, and you likely need to change guild, where it is a case of you find like-minded people who are there to support you. We're all in this mess together. We need to support ourselves through sort of times like this, where I mean, at the time of writing, we're currently going through the first set of Galactic Legends. This is probably one of the worst burnouts that we can have. And I think a comment that you said, I'm either going to go for Kylo Ren or quit the game. I was like, that's the two biggest opposites on the spectrum that you can have. But I completely relate with that because I feel exactly the same. So my first point is speak to an officer or a guild member or an older head where you currently are. And if they can't support you, go and find somewhere else. It's not that scary. Genuinely, there are so many good players, but I think a lot of people fall into the trap of staying in that same guild and just quitting. And there's so many great guilds out there as well. So reach out to someone, and if they're not willing to support you, go and find another place that will.
Absolutely. That's kind of what I did about 6 or 7 months ago. I kind of was feeling a different sort of burnout, not because the Galactic Legends had been announced, but they hadn't been released. I went out and found a guild that I was, more comfortable with because I was actually putting basically I was going all in on the game, try to change my mindset and try to hoping that it was gonna like make it more fun for me, you know. So I went out and I joined a almost 300 mil guild at the time, and now we're over 300 mil, and we're they're a great group of guys, and they support me, and they're awesome. That leads me into my next topic: skip/sit out a territory war, or skip your arenas for the day, and see how you feel. Gauge your interaction with the game. If you're trimming, your 2 hour arena climbs to do something else. It's it might help you. It might tell you, hey, maybe those crystals aren't that important. Maybe spending quality interaction time with your family, your friends, or even playing another game, video game, whatever mobile game, whatever have you, it might help you. It's there's sometimes during my climb I'm just like, you know what? Let me put my phone down and go do something else.
Yeah, I completely agree. Once again, I mean, when you talk about the arena time, right? Let's put it into perspective. So, what I mean, I work a 5 day working week, and then I have 2 days off as well. Are you 5 days as well?
Yes, I work
Okay,
5 days on, 2 days off.
there we go. Okay, and I think the majority of people, obviously, society is a little bit different than it used to be, but most people will work 5 day weeks if they're in full time employment. the reason that you have 2 days off every single week is because if you worked every, if I mean, in my industry where I am, we've got a section where, so I'm in retail and we work from Boxing Day probably about 21 days straight, because that's when the majority of our business for the whole year, the busiest time of the whole year. And after those 3 weeks, I am exhausted and it is on autopilot, and I feel completely burnt out. And I'm just looking forward to that day off where I can just do something different, even if it's nothing. And I think that can very much translate to this as well, in terms of maybe you need 1 day a week off the arena climb. It's not going to damage you that much, in all honesty, and it can give you that little bit of respite that you need as well. Um, and that kind of leads me into my second point as well. And I've put here, take a morning or afternoon off, because this game, you can, even though there's not a huge amount to do, we can find excuses to be on the game. And even if you're not in the game, you can get tied up in Discord as well. And a lot, for the majority of people, a lot of people will be in Discord more than they actually are in the game, but it is connected. Or they might be watching streams of people playing their grand arenas or whatever it is. So it can be all encompassing. In terms of taking a morning or afternoon off and participating in something that you enjoy. So, as I was saying to you before, Dagger, I used to work as a psychotherapist, so a glorified counselor, basically.
Yeah.
And there was some research done by Mikhail Csikszentmihalyi, and try saying that when you've had a few beers, you know. But anyway, long story short, and I won't bore you with this, but he investigated the effects of flow, and this was where so you're a mechanic, right?
Yes.
So very often you will probably have that timeless sensation where you look at the clock and you go, my God, what, how, where did I lose all that time? So finding an activity that you completely engross yourself in. So this might be golf, this might be tennis, this might be climbing, this might be chess, this might be knitting, this might be anything where it actually requires you to think, and basically bring yourself back to the moment where you aren't thinking about the future or the past or whatever it is. Just get yourself in the moment, get yourself out there doing something that invokes a feeling in the present, and that is called flow. So if ever you've had a timeless sensation where you're enjoying yourself or you're that engrossed in something or a subject, quite often people have it when they're with friends and they completely lose track of time, is because they're completely there and present and not worrying about the future or the past. They're just there in the moment doing what they enjoy doing. So that for me is one of the most important things. Go out there and find. I know the world is a funny place at the moment, and during the time of writing, we're currently sort of a lot of places on lockdown, so it is hard to do. But certainly finding something that, whether this is Sudoku, that's another good, something that will engage you and give you this timeless sensation. That's my big tip for number two.
Oh, absolutely. And let's be honest, we all started playing this game because there was a little bit of strategy involved. So, finding an activity that'll engage your mind, guess what? It'll give you the same endorphins and sensations that this game does. So, finding something to. But yeah, finding something that you can basically engage your mind, get those endorphins, your blood, your brain pumping. I also, when I was in college, I studied quite a bit of psychology myself, and I was really good at it, understanding the terminology and how the brain kind of works. It's rather refreshing to be able to step away from something that I've been playing since for 4.5 years going on. Finding something that engages my mind just like this is very refreshing, and I'm sure it will
Completely.
as for other people as well.
Yeah, whether it's physical, whether it's mental, you need some form of activity or hobby that you're able to fully engage in to take you. Otherwise, if you're doing anything, like I was saying before, even if you're working constantly, you're going to get burnout from that. Or if the only thing you are is in the gym and thinking about the gym and thinking about nutrition, you're going to burn out pretty quick if you don't have like a spectrum of things that you enjoy and that you do.
Yeah, for sure. the next topic I wanted to talk about, number three, download another collector game. There's multiples out there. DSA is becoming really popular. Marvel Strike Force, I've been playing that since soft launch. Dragon Champions, or if you don't want to do a collector game, there's I played for a little bit and I kind of fell behind because I was working constantly. But Call of Duty Mobile was really fun. Find if you don't have a video game console like a Xbox or PlayStation or Switch, find another mobile game that you think you're gonna like. Give it a shot. Play it for a week. Play it competitively. Play it casually. Whatever suits for you. There's a ton of games out there, and all you got to do is go to your app store and just type or put in the top grossing games or whatever. It's there's other options out there, so don't feel tied to the game. If something you play is going to get your interest more, like, because as we've mentioned a couple times, there's a big lull in the game. Why not use this lull to play something else? Maybe enjoy Marvel Strike Force. They've got a beautiful game. They have live PvP. You can fight your friends in live PvP, and it's I've played with against Dagger, he's also a soft launch player, but he has a much better developed roster than me because I kind of lost focus. But it's so much fun, and Discord basically runs the mobile game industry at this point. Let's be honest. Hop in a voice chat and sit there and talk like, oh, that's talk strategy. It'll make you better in that game. Going against a bigger player like Dagger, I was able to basically get a feel for what other teams I had and what teams I can make without doing the quote unquote meta, and it's refreshing. Live PvP is very fun, and it's very interesting.
Yeah, and even, I mean, obviously, if you are bored of collector games, you can. I mean, personally, I quite like playing, a baseball sim. I quite like playing fishing. Yeah, so I agree, and I don't feel like you have to stick within the same realm of collector games as well, because it's nice to switch between one, two, and three. Because when you don't have anything to do in one, devil makes work for idle thumbs. And I mean, personally, I quite like playing baseball games. I quite like playing fishing games on the mobile as well. I know that sounds super boring. Fishing in real life is super boring anyway. Even on the mobile, it's even worse. But it is just a little bit of escapism. And it is just something which you can put on even for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And just going back to, it's just reminded me of a book that I read a long time ago called The Happiness Hypothesis. And this is from a guy called, I don't know how to pronounce his surname, but it's Jonathan Haidt. It's spelled Haidt. And with that, what he was saying was, essentially, so TLDR of it, again, very, very quick overview, was when you're progressing at something, you are much, much happier than when you are not. And when you slow down that progression, it becomes a lot harder to get enjoyment out of it. So let's say, for example, you're on $20,000 a year, and now you get a pay rise to $23,000 a year. Well, guess what? How that person responded? They were happy. They were more engaged in their work. But those people who went from $50,000 a year down to $45,000 a year, they were extremely unhappy. Even though when you have a look at it logically, they're still earning a lot more money than the person who's on 23,000. And guess who was the happiest out the lot? Well, it was those who were progressing. Now, whether this is in career, whether this is in a hobby like golf or football or baseball or whatever it is that you're doing, as long as you're having a feeling of progression, that's what Jonathan thought was the happiness hypothesis, where you are engaging in something and the enjoyment kind of tends to taper off the less progression you get. Inevitably, it's going to happen in everything that you do. But I thought that was incredibly interesting, and that reminded me, that kind of led me on to my point number three, was if you don't have a Galactic Legend, you are not a failure. I think there's only about 500 to 600 Supreme Leader Kylo Rens out there at the moment, which for some reason I seem to pull one every single 3v3, weirdly. And you've got one there at the moment.
Yes,
But
I do.
according to the poll data, there's only about 560, 580 people with Supreme Leader Kylo Ren. So put it in perspective. You're not miles behind everyone else. This is tip of the spear. People have spent a lot of money on credit cards as well to get these characters up there quickly. What I do want to say as well, very, very important, is again, only spend what you can afford to. It is so easy to start spending what you don't have and putting your own personal finances or your family's personal finances and ruining home lives as well. And I think that's very important to touch on.
I
Again,
think
I think recognizing is the first thing that anyone needs to do, is going, right, okay, I have a problem, because then they're able to take ownership of it. But as I said, with the Galactic Legend, it is also okay to take ownership of, right, I am fine not having a Galactic Legend this year. I've got a friend who does it who is doing his in stages. So what he might do for his Kylo Ren, our Master Kylo Ren and First Order Officer. So he might do those three, and First Order Executioner. He might do those 3 or 4 to Gear 13, and then he'll go to another faction. And he's at peace with doing that and pacing it like that. So going, and that like segues me into my number 4, is that short-term achievable goals. That's super important for me, is setting these short term, because you're going to get that feedback and that feeling of completion as well, but setting achievable goals as well. So a lot of short-term goals will keep you engaged in this game and combat that burnout as well.
Oh, absolutely. Me, myself, and Dagger actually, basically, what we do every 3 months, we create our own what we call a road ahead. Basically, our what we're gonna do for the next 3 months, as CG plans to do what they're gonna do for the following 3 months as well. So it's setting a short-term achievable goals. Guess what? It's you get those endorphins flowing. You get the sense of, hey, I did something awesome, and stuff like that. So like you said, it's the feeling of completion and getting something done that you want to do.
Yeah, or even if it's something simple like, right, well, I've neglected my Neff. She's only gear 10. Do you know what? I'm going to take her to gear 13. I'm going to focus farming this one character. And guess what? It will probably only take you about a month. But there is that feeling of completion and that feeling of progression, and it is very, very rewarding. So, yeah, I love that, doing your own road ahead. I think that's genius.
Yeah. Speaking of which, mine I should be recording mine here in a couple days, so be on the lookout for that. Which also segues me into my number 4 topic: Rise, Rebel, Resist. Gear what you as a player want to. This is the perfect time. If you've decided you're not going to go for a Galactic Legend, that's good on you. Don't give in to the machine. Rise, rebel, resist. Gear what you want to, so you have the sense of you're building your roster the way you want it to, not the way CG wants you to. So it's. Let me tell you, I just took all but Magna Trooper up to gear 12. Feels fantastic to finally have an Imperial Trooper team that I can use. Granted, it's not that easy to use in 3v3, and kind of falls flat, but when 5v5 comes back, you can bet your bottom dollar that I will be using them. I also recently just took old Ben to gear 13. I'm working on Sunfac to gear 13. Guess what? Those are things that I want to do, not that CG wants me to do. So I'm rebelling against them. and that's the perfect way to, you know, if you want to give in to, or get one of the Galactic Legend, that's your choice. But I'm gonna slowly work on them. So do what you want to do. It's much more satisfying because guess what? Every roster is unique, and every roster tells a story about a person. I love the dark side. If you go to my roster, you'll see that most of my roster reflects that. I love the Empire. I love the Sith. They're two of my favorite factions, and like I have a Gear 13 Triumvirate. I have, obviously, because I wanted to be competitive in Arena, I have relics on my Sith Empire trio, or well, quad, because Malik. But it's do what you want to do, because guess what? Nobody's holding a gun to your head saying, "Hey, screw your other farms, get these Galactic Legends." Stay focused and do what you want to do.
Yeah, and let's put it this way, because there will be times when these sort of left field characters like Mission or whoever it is that you've got a passion project for, there will be times where these characters come to shine. So, case in point, 3v3 that was just gone, I was up against a Ahsoka Tano Fulcrum that was ranked level 4. And it is incredibly tough. Now, 5v5, that's no issue at all. But 3v3, this is an absolute nightmare. So, again, don't worry too much about those characters that you want to do. Because, again, it's just going to be a case of, they will have a use at some point. And there's only so many metas that you can chase, and so you're going to have to do them all anyway. So, yeah, completely gear up the ones that you want to, and have some fun with the game, and see how much damage you can get out of Canderous Ordo or Scoundrels or whatever it is. Push the boundaries on the characters that you do like, and don't regret it either.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. And I think that leads into your last talking point too.
Yeah, so my last one that was, remember that it's a game and it should be enjoyable. And that kind of, brings us back to the very serious issue of, if you aren't enjoying this game, or if you feel like, you are dealing with addiction, burnout, you're feeling that you're not sleeping at night because of it. Again, if you're not sleeping at night, well, you've got increased anxiety. You need to deal with that. Otherwise, that's going to come out in other aspects of your life, whether that's family life, friendships, work life. This is something that isn't healthy and it isn't normal as well. Um, Also bordering on the side of, if you're spending money, again, you don't have to spend money to be addicted to something. This can be a time addiction as well. And this can, time addiction, even if you're free to play, a lot of people will say, yeah, no, I'm free to play, I don't spend anything. Doesn't mean you're not addicted to something, and that you're not spending every waking second thinking about it. So that's something to be very careful of as well. If you're doing something and you're not enjoying it, you've got to ask yourself, well, why am I doing it? What's in it for me?
Yep.
Because likely not many people are getting paid to play this game. It's the other way around. So yeah, there's a few that get paid okay out of this game. There's others that the vast majority of players will never receive a cent from this game. And so you've got to ask yourself, well, listen, why am I playing? What's in it for me in terms of caring about this game so much? And when you boil it down, it is a luxury. It is something that it is a hobby. If this was something else, like you put this into perspective, if this was someone who spent 8 hours a day down the local tavern, then you would call them an alcoholic, or they would have a drinking problem. So again, just because it's behind a screen and you might not be spending money on it, doesn't mean it's not an issue. That's the sort of serious side of it. And there's plenty of things out there that you can get help with. as well, whether it's gambling, whether it's just speaking to a friend or a guildmate as well. Because again, or an officer, like going back to my first point, remember that these people don't know you, so it is almost like going to, and likely they'll never meet you as well. And that can kind of, we all hide behind an avatar online. So again, doing it is almost confidential. So that can be quite useful. Speaking to someone in your guild or someone that you trust in the game about your concerns that you're having with the game. So that's pretty much my fifth point as well.
So that brings me to remember the great exodus of the Scotty McLaren from the Escape podcast. Very good friend of mine. Met him. I've known him for probably about a year and a half going on. Same as Paul, and he realized he had a problem. He stepped away. He got rid of his account and then came back a few months later, refreshed, and realized that hey, he had an addiction problem and he fixed it. And that's, psychologically speaking, we all play this game for a sense of getting our endorphins, or whether it's getting your mind going with the strategy or feeling the sense of completion with endorphins. It's, if you have an issue, like I've probably posted this a couple times, find someone, myself, anybody that that you trust in, you can talk to and say, hey, I think I have a problem. Because admitting you have a problem is the biggest step in fixing the problem.
Completely. And I mean, I'll open up my Discord server. We'll put, I don't know if you've got a Discord server as well, Carl, but certainly I'll open mine up if anyone does want to come in and say, hey guys, I need a change of scene. I need something. Come on over. We'll put that in the link description as well.
Yep.
And you guys can certainly come on over and just get a change of pace, and ask a few veteran players what they should do in terms of we'll give it to you straight. So again, most people will already know the answer of what they need to do. It's just sometimes they need a fresh pair of eyes to tell them or to make the decision. But certainly, I'll open up my Discord. The link is down there. If anyone does genuinely feel like they need to open up in somewhere that they need to, they can come in there. They can do whatever it is, and there are places out there as well. I'm sure on Operation Metaverse's Discord that there is something, obviously with like suicide as well. And as we were saying, it's not within the realms of the game to think that someone has actually cared that much or got that involved in gaming, that they have taken their own life. And as we said at the start of this is a man's chant. It does take real men to talk about it. It isn't weakness. It is more so that putting yourself in a better position, because it doesn't have to be like this. If you aren't enjoying it, sometimes it does need help. So, and again, fair play to Scotty McLaren. I agree, he has come back a better man. And again, it's realizing that there's something not quite right, and you need to change it. But only that person can make a change. No one else will make it for you.
Absolutely. And to touch on my last subject, because it is just a game, you know what? Go back to when you weren't level 85 and you actually had to battle through your galactic war, or your the actual nodes to get gear, or character shards / ship shards, or if you want to have fun, just use like the bottom half of your roster, those characters you don't ever use but you like to use. Like, there we all had, I used to do, I wasn't always a super competitive player. I had to actually manual my TB battles, and sometimes they weren't all the gear wasn't there, and guess what? I had to like strategize. Using the lower half of your roster, the characters you don't, not your Gear 13 characters. I'm not saying go in there with a cup solo. That's silly. But using characters that you don't have the chance to use in your Grand Arena or your Territory Wars or your other the higher end TVs and Geo TVs, your or even your arena. Go use them and remember how their kits work. Because guess what? It's you can find certain synergies, and if you find something that oh, these three characters kind of work really good together, build a strategy. See if you can beat all of Galactic War with them. Uh, it'll bring a little appreciation to the game.
Yeah, and I mean, the reality is there is 180 plus characters in this game, but we probably only use about, well, I was going to say 80, but we don't even use 80 because there's teams, half of those go on defense anyway. So the likelihood is we're only playing with 40 or 50 characters at best. So again, there's going to be another 130 characters out there that we're not getting to enjoy just because we're stuck in that same old pattern of right, it's arena, very specific team, or right, it's territory wars, so it's a very specific counter. I love that one. Is go in, try out a new team, try out new factions, and I guess that's some of the novelty of 3v3 is that you can experiment. You don't have to keep people within factions. You can plug and play people. There's a lot of I mean, this 3v3, I really enjoyed it when it first started. As I said, a little bit of burnout with it at the moment, but it made me learn a lot of new kit. And I've come out of this 3v3 by actually learning a lot of new leadership and a lot of new uniques and a lot of people that work better together. So I mean, that's the beauty of playing with characters that you don't usually on your roster. You learn a lot more about the teams and the factions and those characters that are just sitting there collecting dust as well.
Oh, absolutely. And guess what? It's you're not just some mindless drone clicking the auto sim. There's a sense of accomplishment when you go in and you think of these characters that gear 8, gear 9, whatever, and you put them together. Oh, hey, they actually work. Well, maybe I can put some gear on them and make them work in another game mode. You're not going to be
Completely.
punished for it because they're on the lower half of your roster.
Exactly. And I quite like doing that as well, getting him to like year 10 or 11. I know my top 80 players. I know what I can go up against. So it is nice sort of bringing the rest of them up, so you can have a little play around. And also they get you out of a tight spot sometimes. Sometimes you've got a hero in waiting, just waiting to be used, but you just don't know you've got them there.
Yeah, you never know. And guess what? If you never try, you're never going to know.
No, completely. Right then, Carl, I think those droids have just about finished up with my speeder bike. Does that about cover it?
It does. I think we've touched on some very key subjects, and I'm hoping that people find this video refreshing and helpful. Um,
Yeah.
both,
And also, if anyone has anything to add in the comments, let us know how you deal with burnout in the game as well. And let us know what you're going to use from this list as well to go forward as well. But if you've got any tips or you've got any tricks that you use to avoid burnout, again, put that in the comments. That'd be great. And smash that like button and hit that subscribe button for Kyle as well. So giving up a lot of his time tonight to do this video. So yeah, give him some reward for it as well.
absolutely. I will be putting both That's No Moon's Discord and channel in the description. I will put the official, I guess, the Wednesday Crew Discord server also in the chat or in the description. So if you guys ever need someone to talk to or you want to strategize or anything like that, by all means, please hit us up on Discord. This has been
It
Deadpool Kyle from the Wednesday Crew and my special guest, That's No Moon, all the way from merry old England. We hope you guys have a great night. Any last words, That's No Moon?
No, and as I was saying, even if it was just going to be something non-Star Wars related, or non-game related, or whatever it is, again, you just feel free to hop on the Discord server and meet some other people. Because likely, if you've enjoyed this, then you're also going to enjoy the people that are in our Discords as well. So yeah, give it a try. What have you got to lose as well? So, yeah,
Exactly.
and I will wish you a good night, a good morning, or a good afternoon wherever you are, and look after yourselves out there. Again, realize the signs of burnout as well, because they are very real. And hopefully, this has even helped one person dealing with that burnout. And as I said, have take a note of something that you're going to do this week that you're going to help yourself with to deal with that burnout as well, because I bet it is more prevalent than we imagine.